These 12 things that Gen X was taught in school would make boomers roll their eyes. We all know boomers can be set in their beliefs, so it's no surprise that they wouldn't be too fond of some of what Gen X was taught in school just one generation later. Do what makes you happy stood in stark contrast to how boomers tended to stay in the same job for the course of their entire careers. Gen X was taught to choose passion over practicality. They were cut from a different cloth than the boomers. Of course, all of us Gen Xers ended up with art degrees, and many of us are somewhat unemployed, so there's that. And we are more likely to hop jobs over the course of our careers, but that's partially because of the ways the job market has changed since we started our careers way back in the 1900s. You can be anything you want served as a starting point for boomers to complain about younger generations being spoiled little snowflakes. Boomers typically conformed hard, which is one reason they were annoyed by the idea that Gen X could do anything. For example, I, a Gen Xer, wanted to be a veterinarian, and then an opera singer, and now here I am doing whatever this is. We definitely did learn to dream big as Gen X kids though, and we lean hard on our famous individuality. All opinions are valid differed from how boomers were taught to respect authority figures, no matter what. While boomer kids were taught to fall in line, Gen X was encouraged to question their teachers and push against the status quo. Boomers categorized this type of thinking as coddling and thought it made Gen X somewhat soft and sensitive. Bullying has no place here oddly made boomers nostalgic for when playground cruelty was considered acceptable. Boomers told Gen Xers to toughen up and stop being so sensitive. And yeah, we were still bullied in school, even if anti-bullying was touted in our halls of education. The good news, though, is now that Gen Xers are parents, we're intent on standing up for our kids and speaking up when we see them being bullied. Building self-confidence is critical was a life lesson Gen Xers were taught in schools that boomers saw as enabling kids and making them weak. But confidence is crucial and totally worthy of being taught in school. Why wouldn't we want people to develop confidence and good self-esteem? Feeling good about who you are doesn't mean you think you're better than everyone else, nor does it enable you. It means you recognize that you have worth in the world. The teaching of everyone is special and unique became the basis for the participation trophies that boomers love to complain about. So take me. I was terrible at both soccer and dance when I was a child, but you'd better believe that I worked extra hard and earned those participation trophies. The celebration of every Gen X child caused friction among boomers who believed that fitting in and winning was the only way to succeed. Learning should be fun made boomers who were taught by rote learning roll their eyes. Rote learning was a traditional teaching method that had students repeat information until they had it memorized, and you'd better believe that boomers can still tell you what 8x8 is at the drop of a hat. While typical boomer classrooms used rote learning, Gen X was taught to challenge themselves through more entertaining and hands-on lessons. Anything where we Gen X students got to incorporate art was totally my jam back in school days, and I still remember many of the things I learned that way. Typing skills were the key to success, disappointed boomers who were taught cursive writing in school. And while maybe we've too quickly forgotten the ways of cursive in schools, typing has absolutely taken over handwriting of any form in the modern world. Plus, us Gen X kids will remember that when you went to the computer lab to do your typing games on those MS-DOS computers, sometimes you also got to play Oregon Trail, which was absolutely a win-win for a Gen X kid. Gen Xers were told that home economics class was optional, but a life skills class like that could have taught us useful things like sewing, cooking, and balancing a budget. However, a huge problem with the boomers' version of that home ec class was that it upheld rigidly gendered ideas around the roles men and women were assigned. Boys took shop, and girls took home ec, but the necessary life skills that students learned in home ec are skills that are necessary to take care of yourself as an adult, and those apply to all human beings. Gen X students were taught that creative expression matters as much as science and math. But boomers didn't typically agree that art and music were on an equal level to math and science. Boomers would roll their eyes as Gen X kids played instruments and splattered paint, but that emphasis on creativity expanded our minds and gave us an outlet for personal expression. Plus, the arts provide a well-rounded education that keeps kids engaged in school, builds community, and lowers stress. Look, I loved my calculus class as much as the next high schooler, but it was music classes that really kept me involved when I was a student. History isn't just names and dates to Gen X students who were taught to analyze social movements and look at behavior patterns while boomers learned through memorizing. It's likely that boomers viewed Gen X's historical education as too complicated, but Gen X explored all the ways that history has a beating heart. And now we're a bunch of middle-aged, exhausted activists in band t-shirts and Doc Martens. Don't mess with Gen X. We know our history, and we're intent on making sure it doesn't repeat itself. Correct spelling doesn't matter if you have good ideas, angered boomer parents who believed spelling was important. But us Gen Xers were on the cusp of spell check, and by the time many of us entered the workforce, we had Clippy and Word spell check feature to fix our mistakes. Heck, my Gen Z kids had spelling tests when they were in elementary school, but they sure aren't interested in spelling now that the robot takes care of it for them. The differences between Boomer and Gen X academic experiences highlight how much things have changed in only one generation. And if things keep changing at their current rate, with advances in AI and other technology, who knows what we'll be rolling our eyes at when Gen Alpha and Gen Beta come of age.